everyone. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another video with the Truth QT. And tonight we are talking about the Latruths again. If you are sick and tired or exhausted about hearing about the Latruths, there is no way to escape the Latruths. They are all over social media and they always have something new going on, right? And this is what we will be talking about tonight. So let's go ahead and get right into the video. Mrs. Latruth, Brianna, she actually released a recording. Was it 2 days ago? She released a recording that basically showed or displayed, or we heard is a better word. We heard Mr. Latruth being extremely disrespectful. And I want to entitle this video Selective Outrage. I know you've heard that term. It was, I forget which comedian actually did Selective Outrage. I believe it was Chris Rock as it pertains to Will Smith, right? We have selective outrage with the Latruths. This is my unpopular opinion. I am not Team Bree, nor am I Team Latruth, okay? I am really about what's right and what's wrong. And what I don't understand is the selective outrage we have. We are so upset with Brianna, Mrs. Latruth, as we should be. She has done some really outlandish things. And she took the cake with releasing her husband's tax returns to show that he wasn't a baller when she met him. Just so unnecessary. However, Mr. Latruth was extremely disrespectful in the recording that she released. Did it make him look bad? Absolutely. But what I've seen is that more content creators are addressing it, but not as outraged as they are about Brianna releasing it. It's selective outrage. I know this is an unpopular opinion. I know that people will probably have comments. Please drop them down below. But I honestly feel that anybody who was as disrespectful as Mr. Latruth was in that video has probably displayed that same type of behavior before she recorded him. She knew to record him because of how he has behaved in the past. Now, I will also say, who records their husband? Okay? So I'm saying that they are both equally toxic. Who records their husband to catch him in a bad moment, to possibly use in the future? It's just a very untrusting situation, right? She recorded him talking some stuff about his sister. And I agree with the other content creators out there, and I probably only heard one say this, is that when you are in a relationship, and I hate to jump around, but there's so much to unpack here. But when you're in a relationship, whether you're married, boyfriend and girlfriend, it doesn't matter. You are pillow talking with your mate. It doesn't mean that you expose everything that's in your friend's past or everything that's going on with your siblings, but you do pillow talk, right? And he was providing or having a discussion about his family, an intimate discussion about his family with his wife, as he should have been able to. So the recordings, I think, are ridiculous. I think they're ridiculous, but do they hold some weight based on how she has said she was treated in the relationship? She went on to say, okay, you didn't beat me, but I'm talking about the emotional abuse, right? And we clearly heard in at least one of those recordings that she was emotionally abused. It's the selective outrage for me. This Mr. Latruth called her names. He called her the ultimate name, right? Tons of times. The B word. I'm not going to say it on my platform, but he called her that multiple times. He was just disrespectful. I'm not going to go into the recording. Please, I don't have the recording. I may throw in or insert some clips here. Please, if I don't, please don't charge it to my heart. But the recordings are out there. Take a listen. But when you listen to them, really, truly listen to them, not from Brianna she's such this person. Yes, but it does not give the other person a pass to treat you that way. Now, I know that they say that there is this thing called reactive abuse. I hope I'm using the term right. But when you react to somebody who's abusing you, do you get a pass to then treat them like that? I don't think so. I just simply don't think so. I don't think Brianna should have been recording her husband, but I also don't think that he should have had an opportunity to treat her like that. She shouldn't have had any type of recording with him treating her like that. Is basically what I'm saying. So I still do find his behavior on those recordings to be very disrespectful, very triggering as it pertains to just women, how we're disrespected. Now, Brianna did say this on her live too, women are the most disrespected, which is true. But I would say, let me throw in there, because again, I'm on Mrs. or not Mrs. I am team right, not team Bree or team Latruth. Do I feel like some of this recording was to pull at some heartstrings? Absolutely, I do. Absolutely. But do I also feel like she was disrespected? Absolutely. And I am just as outraged at her releasing his tax returns as I am hearing her call her multiple names and disrespecting her in such a way where he was going to, put her out the car or something like that. Okay. Now, let's move on to Mrs. Brianna. Let's move on to Mrs. Latruth. Now, Brianna, from all of these interactions that they've had, right? She knows what triggers him. And I believe someone's theory was the argument that they had based on this recording was because she posted a video about a message from a pastor, and she was basically saying how it resonated with her. The message resonated with her. And he was upset that she was basically promoting this pastor or this message or something like that, right? That being said, it led me to believe that Brianna has been retaliating against Mr. Latruth for quite some time. That's the reason that she promotes her friend over and over and over. She promotes him constantly. That is to upset Mr. Latruth. She knows what triggers him, right? Also, I heard this morning on another video that I watched, and on that recording, it was something about him wearing fake chains or something like that. He's wearing fake jewelry or something like that. I completely agree that there is, what's the point of releasing that? Who cares who wears fake or real jewelry? But again, this is the reason why her friend received real jewelry early on. It was a dig at Mr. Latruth. It was retaliation to Mr. Latruth. He has real jewelry. You don't, right? This was kind of like her dig to him. Now, moving on, and I may come back to this, but moving on to another recording that Mr. Latruth released to basically clear his name about signing those papers. The ball is back in her court. They haven't received any type of response. They're waiting on Mrs. Latruth. They're waiting on her attorney. And he released, a really good recording that basically backs him up. So they're really in really sad times right now, because I know that a lot of this, they will have a lot of regrets later on, a lot of regrets. And I honestly feel that, and I'm saying both will have regrets. Now, I will say that Mrs. Latruth, she has went in double time. So she probably will have more regrets because she's done a lot more publicly to defame, and allegedly, okay? A lot more publicly, allegedly, to defame Mr. Latruth's name, okay? And he releasing some of the recordings has only been to clear his name. He's almost just basically trying to fight those low-hanging fruits that she's throwing at him. That's pretty much it. But this does seem, it's very reminiscent of, Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, and he had to basically take her to court because he lost money based on some of the things that she said happened in their marriage. And I think people are looking for Mr. Latruth to do all this, back and forth with her when he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to fight his wife like Johnny Depp did Amber Heard. He just simply doesn't have to. Sometimes all you need to do is just be silent and keep it moving. He releases recordings when he feels like he has, something to release and it's going to add value. But he's not sitting here trying to break her down to the core. Now, I will back up and say yet again, I am not on either team. As you've heard throughout this video, I believe that they are both equally as toxic. I honestly feel like I did not feel that way until I heard that recording. And it doesn't mean that now I am Team Bree. No, that doesn't mean that. But what it does mean is that I'm not going to have selective outrage. I'm not going to say that, she is so ridiculous for releasing his tax returns, but not be outraged at the fact that she has a recording, whether it was, recorded without his knowledge. She still has a recording that shows that she was emotionally abused in this relationship. It doesn't mean that he wasn't, but it does mean that it does back up what she has been saying. She said that, okay, he didn't beat me, but I was emotionally abused. He used to call me these names. And when she released his bank statements of, him having, $80 something in his account, she released it at that time saying, hey, he's called me names. He's called me dumb. We heard that. We saw that type of behavior in that recording. Okay. I do believe that this is called poking the bear. And when I say this is called, I mean all of the subliminal messages that I didn't know were subliminal. They're all subliminal messages and shots to Mr. Latruth because she knows his triggers. But the difference is that typically when you trigger somebody, it's because they're in love with you. I really don't feel as though he is as triggered as he would have been because it's been time. He's had time to kind of process this and settle it. But this is also the reason why she's so carefree in her new life, because of the abuse that she endured as well. They both abused each other emotionally, right? I'm not saying that she was up there calling him names, but what I am saying is that if she throws subliminal shots like she's doing now, and she threw that throughout their relationship, this is what they both were doing, right? She posted a message from a pastor because she probably knew, and I'm just speculating, please. But let's say she knew that would throw him off, and she knew that later on that day she could possibly catch him, going off. So she had the phone out to record him. But again, she only knew that he would react that way because he's done that in the past. And regardless of what your wife is throwing out there, it's not okay to treat somebody like that. And I'm not saying it's okay for her to treat him like that just because she's coming off, less aggressive. It's just a good idea for these two to simply just walk away. And as I said in my video, the last video that I posted, I just hope that this is all over soon. And many blessings to both Mr. Latruth and Mrs. Latruth. Please drop your comments down below. Let me know how you feel. I know I kind of was back and forth with some of the topics. I know that I have definitely doubled down on how I feel, but please don't have selective outrage. If you heard a recording of Mrs. Latruth calling him all sorts of names, we would be doubling down on who she is and what she stands for, right? So the fact that you hear him say it, it's not okay to make tons of excuses for this behavior. It's just not. We're not going to make excuses for her behavior, nor should we do it for Mr. Latruth. Thank you. I hope you all have a good night.